Welcome to the No BS Short-Term Rental Podcast, an unfiltered look into the global vacation and short-term rental industry.
I'm Mateo Bradford.
And I'm John Stokinger.
And this is our podcast. We bring the right people to the table at the right time, giving you an inside view and take on the short-term rental industry like no other podcast can. This season of the No BS Pod is proudly brought to you by our friends Beyond and Costco. Beyond offers you the tools you need to get, grow, and optimize your revenue.
And Costco's best-in-class tech streamlines operations for the local traditional vacation rental management company, making them the local heroes with a global presence.
Our podcast is not possible without the generosity of our sponsors. Make sure to check out their exclusive offers specifically geared for our No BS listeners.
No BS.
Live.
Season 3, episode 5 or 6. I can remember. We're live from Nashville. We're live from DARM. We're going to be going ahead and interviewing a ton of guests, doing some short snippets, and going to make one awesome podcast together. We're really excited. We have both Alex and Ben from Whimstay. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you for joining our lovely recording studio in Nashville.
I love it, dude. So
with the recording sign.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're in Nashville, so there's a recording sign right there. It's beautiful. So we're doing short snippets. So normally we have like a lot of time to lead up. We bullshit a lot on the no bullshit. We don't talk bullshit, but we do bullshit.
Yeah.
With that said, why Whimstay? How did let's talk about then, like, why did you build this? And where did you come from before this too? Like, I want a quick origin story.
Well, I can't. I mean, so if it's going to be quick, I'm just going to have to give you
a bridge.
30.
The bridge.
So therefore, no.
Can we start with
no BS?
Can we start with Stanford at 14?
Why don't we do that now? Okay. Why don't we start with I'll tell you something. For the longest time, I've heard platforms coming up, and rightly so. The origin was always, for example, property manager for owners by owners, right? Property manager or platform for property managers by property managers, right? So essentially what happened, and the whole catalyst of this thing was as a result of having vacation rentals. I've had them for the past 20 years and realizing at some point in time when I had the free time of not, starting doing another startup or raising a kid or whatever it was, and it just happened in 2018 where I looked at my numbers and I saw it and I thought, wow, 48%? My properties are in Hawaii and Tahoe. There's no shoulder season. Why the hell am I having 48% occupancy? So the catalyst in the inception was initially to take care of myself. So it's a very self-solving proposition, if you will, right? And then it turned into, it took a life of its own. Him and I got together in 2018, late 2018, and said, hey, why can't we do this for everybody? We did some research and found out that, I wasn't the only one with a problem, but it was a systemic problem within the industry. Right. And so one thing led to the next. We were able to get, some really talented people, talk to the right people at the right time.
That's the key.
That's always the key. Out of the, from having 500 properties to next thing we know, we have 60,000 properties on our site, and we don't have an app or a web yet. So what, the whole inception to what Whimstay has been, what it is today, the benefit to the consumer, the benefit to the property manager is that we haven't had time to really look at this in a sense of, well, what's in it for me? And rather we've been able to focus on that it's by property owner for property owner.
Right.
And it's still that,
but not
finally.
Yeah, that end result.
Right, and that's a wonderful thing for the consummation of technology into a product, right? For both the end user as well as the person that or the company that provides the inventory, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. We talk a lot about on the podcast about brand, and what I love what the Whimstay, what you are doing with Whimstay, your brand. I love your branding. I love your social presence. I think it's really clever. I love the connection to your users, and both your users being your guests, but also the property managers. And I love that aspect. Truly, I want to copy some of it. It's like, holy shit, Whimstay's doing the right things. We should do similar stuff to that. So there are some, some really amazing things you're all doing. Like, what's next for Whimstay? Where are you going from here? How you're here at the show, you're doing this is a great conference. So I'm sure you're going to be at all the big ones. What's next for y'all?
If you don't mind.
I want you to.
Yeah. So here, this morning, this is my first show outside of 2018. I was at a BRNA show.
Okay.
And so I really haven't had a chance to really get in and do the meet and greet with the people that I should be in contact with, because I'm really working in the background, making sure that this stuff we can facilitate this proposition and continue, hitting home runs, which I think we're doing. But the guy who created At Ease and yourself, the two of you, I think, right? He said something this morning that rang in my ear. He said, "Do the next right thing, and the rest will follow." Yeah. Right. That's
the Marine?
Absolutely. So what are we going to do? We're going to do what's in front of us, and the rest will follow. Listen, we don't have any preconceived notions of being the next Airbnb. In fact, I think we're complementary to all the primary sites.
Right.
We're selling what they can't. What I think is happening for us is that we're in a unique spot with the right people at the right age, where we're really trying to continue solving this one problem.
Well, you're right. You're growing with them alongside of them. You are there. You have a symbiotic relationship with them, and you're fulfilling a need that wasn't fulfilled before. And there's some that are doing it decently, but they're not necessarily focused on that. And I see this analogy a lot where like, for example, revenue management. A company, we're at a revenue management conference. Let's go and talk, a revenue management software that, who the hell is going to go ahead and build their own revenue management when you got 4 or 5 like amazing revenue management companies that do it right? You're not going to go ahead and try to go ahead and build one yourself because you can't do it as well as them. Yeah. And if you're focused on this one thing and you're talking, the shorter stay, the last minute stays, someone has to focus on it. Someone has to win it.
100%. But it goes a little deeper than that. What I was implying when I said it's the right time, right place, right people, is that there was a time back 20 years ago, I started a company and it got bought by a big bank. Okay. Right. And so I was able to do a lot of things that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do at the age of 20.
Right.
Right. And at that time, my philosophy was, I've got to win. What I was taught from a child was that this is a competitive environment. You've got to win, and therefore other people have to lose.
Right.
And yet, at this right place, right time, right people, I'm surrounded by people that understand that it doesn't have to be that way if we don't choose it to be right. So therefore,
this is our conversation all the time. This is Mateo like conversation.
100%. There's no reason why the players in the industry currently that are supplementing each other success can't continue to do that and allow this to be a symbiotic relationship that everybody wins. Right. And I'm from a true believer. And you asked me a question: what's next for Whimstay? And I think our reply was, we're not looking for a payday necessarily. We're not looking for, VC asked me, what's your exit strategy? Well, sure, I've got something on paper, but I'll tell you what my exit strategy is. Exactly what that gentleman said this morning. I'm going to do what's in front of me today. And when I get there, I'll get there.
And you'll know it when you're there.
I'll know it when I'm there. Right.
And I think going back to,
so is this going to go to VCs?
It's going to go to lots of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to dial it into, and you said doing it right. And I think it's, the right product, right people, right relationships. Speaking in the right people, like I want to dig in a little bit to where you started, how you connected with this guy who's definitely the right guy, and building out that culture of, because John and I were talking about it last night. Like we were talking about, my dad being a musician and me being an athlete, and, John knows I'm a newer version of myself, but I've always been very competitive within that space. But it's not my vision now. And it really was coming into this industry and coming from finance and other places where it was just, I win, everybody else loses. Hospitality doesn't, like the core of hospitality doesn't support that, right? Like when you think of what hospitality is and the human aspect of what it is, it's really something that should be for all and where there's space for all, right? And I think ingraining that into our business is crucial, but I don't think it's natural. And I think it takes companies to take a leadership role to be willing to partner, to be willing to say, hey, yeah, we're all within the same space. We may even do similar things, but we can still work together for the good of our customer base, the industry. Talk to me a little bit about, how you guys connected in, Whimstay's culture in terms of how do you build that out successfully?
You said another thing that just sparked a fire in me. When you said there was no room for that competitive nature, or this is what I heard, competitive nature that we are all used to as on a philosophical level of upbringing, that someone has to lose, someone has to win, allowed in the travel or really doesn't work in the travel space. I have to disagree. What I do agree, though, where I do agree is that there was tolerance for it in the travel space, but not subscribing to this philosophy of win-win. Where in today's environment, that's just the way it is.
Right.
You don't have to lose for someone else to win. Right. When look, I know Alex is a very competitive guy.
Yep.
Right. And going to the inception of the day one, I remember having a conversation with him about Whimstay.
Yeah.
I said, hey, this is an opportunity for us to do something that really matters to us. Yeah. Now, is that doing something that really matters to us mean that we rent homes? Not necessarily, but it's an opportunity based on what he's good at, what I am good at, to really make a difference in a pocket. It is, and if we can all do that, I don't get it. I'm not here to save the world, but I'm here to make the biggest impact I can on this whole thing that is what's given to us as a result of our past successes, our age, where we are in our road to adulthood. Right. So yeah.
This is the least amount that I've spoken in 20 years.
But this is the thing I want to put to you too, because brother, I know you, and in full candor, I love you. Like you and I have clicked since day one, and it's your personality. What brought you here? Like, and why stick with Whimstay? Because with your talent and your personality, I feel like you're someone that could work anywhere and sell anything. But you are here. You're driving this force here. You're driving growth here.
I think first of all, thanks for saying that. I think this industry is not only the most exciting industry to be in, but the most fascinating, because I think there's a lot of rewriting of roles that are kind of happening a little bit, right? So I think, like, if you look at let's look at the next gen traveler, right? The millennial and the Gen Z. I think we talked about this today, right? So that's 25 to 40, something like that. I like to call it the ad-friendly demographic. Okay, perfect. The ad-friendly demographic.
Yeah.
So these are folks that are spending about $350 to $400 billion on travel, right? And they did it this year. These are folks that when you go and look at what their priorities are, according to like Focusrite and Travel Leisure, it's travel above everything else, right? This is they're into experience. They are into, so this is a whole different generation. They're into this whole digital nomad thing. You think this is a trend? Hell no, dude. Hell no. So there's a movement, right? So there's all these new things that are happening that have never happened in the history of humankind. And who is going to be the ubiquitous form of lodging to that entire travel set? It's us. And so you want to talk about like everyone being able to play together in a space, that where Hopper coexists with Whimstay, not only as, you're far larger than us, but we understand that. But I mean, in a place that's not where we don't butt heads. I mean, me and you are buddies, and I love Luca, and I love all of your team. And Corey and I had an awesome conversation the other day, right? So it's like that we can play in that space together, because let's go ahead and write the fucking rules, rewrite them completely and totally, because the rules are being rewritten by the travelers. So why don't we do the same thing? And so for me, it's like, so now we provide a space, right, for these people that are coming into the world in a massive sort of way
And we can not only, and I think we can give them options, right? We can give them, and then you want to talk about them on the host side, right? That's a whole other thing where they're buying second homes before they're buying first homes. Shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, so there's just this whole different thing that's happening. I look at other industries, there are nothing in SaaS or in the CRM world or anything like that that compares to what we're doing right now. And I mean, us as an industry.
Yeah.
So it's like, that to me is why wouldn't you want to be a part of this? Like this, in my opinion, I know this sounds like hyperbole. This is we're creating history. There's no question in my mind. So why wouldn't you want to be a part?
What's interesting about that too is, we came in this space about 6 years ago. And, we came in from different directions and, and we're neither in that direction anymore, but we're still in. I'll never leave. I love these people. I love the space. I love the tribe. Everything you said is so true. And, when we said, guys, thanks so much for doing this. We really, really appreciate it. I wish
I was too short.
Well, no, we'll definitely have you back on. Yeah, this is a DARM special edition of the No BS Short-Term Rental Podcast. So,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
By the way, dude, I am a huge fan of the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Long time listener, first time beer on.
But no, we will definitely have you guys back on. All right, live from DARM. We'll catch you later.
Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Casago. And
John, you mean Casago?
No, I meant Casago.
John, that's not how you say it. You gotta get our sponsor's name right, man.
Anyway, as I was saying before I got cut off, this episode is brought to you by Casago. And if you haven't heard of them, then here's the deal. Casago helps bring the biggest tech and strategy to the local operators so they can take on the big players. Casago's franchise model really does streamline the operations of the local and traditional vacation rental management company, making them the local heroes with a global presence.
And the industry changing as much as it has, Casago's not only bringing these high-powered tools to the local operators, but they're also creating something even more powerful by making sure everyone is in the community and constantly learning from different markets and operators.
We tell you this because they've joined us to get this exclusive offer just for checking them out a little bit more. Go to casago.com/nobs. That is casago.com/NOBS to book your discovery call. What's included, you ask? A review of your business operation expenses to identify where you can save money, information on how to partner with Casago or Casago to scale your company, and a free $100 Amazon gift card for attending their 1-hour discovery call. Now let's get back to the pod.
So it's Casago.
No, it's for sure Casago.
You have no idea what you're talking about. It's Casago.
No, dude, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Whatever. Let's get back to the business.
We're back with our second guest, or maybe third or fourth or fifth. I don't know how we're going to go ahead and splice this together, but we're back with a guest, Stephanie Koenig of StoicLane. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you jumping in.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. It's awesome being with you guys the last few days. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, super. So, short story. We're on the same plane from Chicago, and same plane, and I had no idea, but the interesting thing is I'm watching this woman limp down the aisle. I'm like, oh man, she's got a heck of a limp. And come to find out it's Stephanie, and she had and I already heard the story, but I didn't know it's her. Tell us your quick story about why you're this insane leg brace.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I was riding a bike. I live in downtown Chicago, and I had a bag on the handlebar, and the bag fell towards the front wheel and just completely wiped out the bike. So I tore my ACL, I fractured my left arm, and I got blood clots in my calf. And so now I'm at the best I've felt in 4 months. I don't look great, but
she's like the bionic woman here. You see her, like, we're gonna go head first.
I lift up my legs.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Check it out.
A real brace.
But basically, it's been a long road to recovery, but I'm on the final. I had surgery, and so now I'm just focused on doing a lot of PT and getting my leg strong again.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I remember. So John, we would Uber to the same place, obviously separately, and we get there. It's like, oh my gosh, you're the girl from the plane. I was doing exercises on the plane because it was the first time flying. You can get blood clots,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
you have to be careful.
Very much so. And that was random because like when we met you, so they were on a tour. We all met up on a tour yesterday here at DARM, and they came up there with their suitcases. I thought y'all knew each other. No, like I was like,
Well,
that's why I was like, how can I help you with your bag? It's John's friend. I was
That's so sorry, Mateo. You are so good, John.
I was talking about helping you with your bag. No, he can get his own.
The interesting thing too is like, you know, I know you work with benchmark management, and so we had met I've known them for a while. I've actually met them down in I've talked with Tyler and the whole team, you know. But the interesting thing is like I already heard this story, but I didn't know who it was. Right. And I met you in Chicago.
Yeah, guys, right.
And then you were in San Antonio as well, but that was your first show, right?
Yeah.
Wait, how have we never met? I was at both of those places.
Well, you know.
I guess I'm not cool. All right, that's all right.
But tell us, so what is, for those that have been living under a rock, what is StoicLane? And, you know, and where are you, well, first, what is StoicLane, but how did you get to StoicLane? I guess we'll start there.
Okay, so those are some big questions. I'll try to make it short, but StoicLane is a permanent capital vehicle, investing in companies, buying them, and operating them for the long term. So it's not a buy, flip, and sell. It's a buy, hold, and grow. And so we are partnering with awesome leaders, awesome founders within the vacation rental industry. Jeff and Benchmark is one of them.
Yeah. Love Jeff. Shout out to Jeff if you're listening.
And we are partnering with them to continue to grow and build larger companies over time. We do not need to sell these businesses ever. All these businesses are profitable and they're just continuing to become more profitable and larger over time. We don't have to return capital to our investors after 5 years or 6, 7, 8 years, like a typical investment horizon would be. Our investors have invested in us for the long term. And so we ultimately continue to make long-term investments. We're really excited about the vacation rental industry and think that it's a really great long-term investment for us, especially with the industry headwinds and people kind of a new branding market after COVID and realize vacation rentals, realize they want to stay in vacation rentals, as well as kind of millennials who have always wanted to stay, but now they actually have buying power to make that decision themselves. How did I get into this industry? Before StoicLane, I was at Modern Ventures, which is a venture capital firm invested in high growth technology companies. And we focused a lot on real estate, whether it was residential, family, retail, industrial, finance, insurance, hospitality, different sectors. And looked at all the short-term rental companies, Everett, Dolio, Lyric, Say Alfred, every short-term rental that was raising, and it was a really interesting concept, but they were all really high growth and they did not make any money. And so when we came to the vacation rental market, and for everyone who's listening, there's internally, this is what we call it, and it's caused a lot of confusion. So I just want to explain it. STR is short-term rental. This is typically urban strategy, technology, tons of technology within the company. Similar experience, whether you stay at a location in Chicago or a location in Nashville, and then backed by with venture investors, typically. That's SCR. And then VRC are these companies that are in destination markets that are from, and this is huge generalization, not true for every case, but profitable. They are typically founded by like a husband and wife. They've been operating
what we call the mom and pop shops.
Mom and pops, yeah. They've been running this for 30 years. And we're really excited about these businesses because some of them are working at one company right now that uses only manila folders and they don't have any PMS. They don't have any technology whatsoever.
We were talking about that yesterday. That's insane.
A lot is changing. And we think that right now, it's really a great opportunity to go into these companies, improve them, and bring them to our century and our time right now.
That's awesome. Your team at StoicLane, were you working with your other team members at your other venture, or is this a new team? Because I met some of your other team members down in West Palm.
Yeah. So great question. Our team, I think we're at 25 now.
Okay.
StoicLane. But to give you some background, StoicLane was founded by Al Goldstein, Jake Nice, and Matt Ferran. And the three of them have had phenomenal careers. They have worked together at other companies. Actually, Matt Ferran and Al Goldstein go back all the way to college. They were fraternity brothers. And then there's many other amazing team members like Matt Wolders and Nick Rosso and Brendan Colligan and Nikki Birchie, which, by the way, I went to college with her, and she's a really good friend. And there's so many more team members that are phenomenal to work with. But essentially, the big idea of how we really came up with permanent capital and StoicLane in general was Al. He started his first company called, at the time, it was called CashNet USA. Today, it's called Innova. And he started that company and he sold it 3 years later for $240 million.
That's a little bit.
Yeah,
A little bit.
a great outcome for some
Right.
people.
Right.
But till this day, he thinks, why did I sell that?
Mhm.
If only I was owning it today with
Right.
the same people who have had potentially even more success. That company today is valued at like 1.9 billion. So it's the question of,
Right.
you know, when you buy great companies and you continue to operate them really strongly, you can continue to grow something so much larger over time. It takes a lot of time. You have to be patient. You have to turn down many strong offers to purchase business.
Right.
But it can be really quite remarkable if you own something for the long term. And so the founders and team, many people have made comments that they really want to retire at this company because of the ability to work on many different projects within the StoicLane umbrella and underneath kind of the StoicLane name. And so we're really combining awesome founders, awesome team members to create something really special and create an environment that we want to work for a very long time together.
That's awesome. Where I know you're working specifically targeting DRCs because of the, you know, the fact and how they were founded, and it's these mom and pops that they've always been profitable. They're going to continue to be profitable. And where'd you next? I know you're down in the Panhandle. You've got some stuff in the Panhandle. You're up in New England or Jersey or something. I think Cape Cod maybe.
Yeah.
And you know, where next? I mean, I'm sure you have your sights on a handful. But are you getting close to close anything new? I mean, are we going to keep? I mean, I'm assuming we're going to keep seeing StoicLane grow and expand and build your portfolio.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's a great question. So today we're in Florida, Massachusetts, and California, and we're absolutely going to expand those three states. But to your point, we're going to be in other states as well. So we haven't closed any deals yet, but we're looking at Texas, we're looking at North Carolina. We're really excited about kind of the many parts towards kind of all over the US. Eventually we want to be national. So
Right.
Not the StoicLane name that's national, but more so the individual underlying companies that are really successful. So we really hope to be in many vacation destinations throughout the US.
It's awesome.
Talk to me a little bit about, you know, we hear these under rumblings and we talk as an industry about the investment culture that's coming into an industry that was traditionally, again, people use words like not as sophisticated or not as, you know, oh, they have all these Wall Street people coming in and you have VC money, and we have this standard of the way investment capital comes into our industry. And it seems like it's built its own culture, and people have their own opinions about it. I love hearing this whole strategy that you guys have and what that really is, what that's able to bring to, you know, the potential legacy of companies within the space. I don't hear that from a lot of the other investors that we're talking about. That's not their strategy. What has been coming into this space and having such a different viewpoint? How is that, you know, is that been encouraging to you? Because it's something I hope to hear more of, because when you talk about investment capital on the VC side, it's usually negative connotation,
Totally.
right?
Really negative. But
right.
to be fair, they've been bruised
Right.
really badly.
Right. And I'm not, definitely there's reason behind that,
Yeah.
right? So what is StoicLane going to do to, what do you think your impact on the culture of investment in our industry would be? What do you hope to
Yeah.
move forward?
So we have been really, really quiet about our investments in the space. Since, to be honest, this is the very first podcast that StoicLane is on.
All right.
And so we, for some reasons, kind of one, we really hope that when we close the transaction, kind of yesterday before we close and the day after that we close look the same. So we don't want to create any big announcements with the company and big announcement with the guests, and we're saying
makes sense.
it's going to be consistent. We're going to deliver, if anything, we have more resources and the ability to provide a better experience for the guests and for the homeowners, etc. So we don't want to ruffle any waters in that front. And then for other investors, highly, we strongly believe that more investors are going to enter the space. And I think many investors are very wary. They've seen what's happened with the quote unquote STR companies that we talked about earlier. And so they don't want anything to do with it. And they're not kind of really focusing, putting down their head and figuring out this kind of more of the industry. And some of the industry is actually very profitable. So we like that. We don't want to do many of these podcasts to share everything that we're really excited about. So we think really smart investors will be back in investing in this space, just in a different way. The one challenge is like, this is very much a hospitality investment.
Right.
And it does require a lot of service. It's not a strict SaaS investment where you continue to sell without really increasing the resources. With these vacation rental companies, you need on-site expertise and you need localized knowledge. So it does require more of an quote unquote investment as opposed to being able to scale like a software company more easily.
I have one last quick question, and the great answers. Appreciate you being out here. The question I have for you is: you're going in and you're saying you don't want to ruffle any feathers, and you want it to look the same before and after. When you invest some funds into these property management companies. With that said, is there? I can see a ton of benefit from going ahead and centralizing all your tech stack and giving a unified tech stack to all of your investments. Is that something that makes sense to you? Because that's also a feather ruffler sometimes, because they're so comfortable using what they've been using for years. But you've also mentioned that you're previously to us coming on, that there's some people you talk to that don't even have a tech stack. So that's
envelopes.
to have them get that. So obviously that makes sense. You're gonna push them in a direction. Are you looking at an overall direction of this is the tech stack I think that makes more sense for StoicLane, or is it more of like you're going to use with what they have?
So many different strategies here, and we've seen large companies take we've seen most companies kind of take one strategy of actually going with economies of scale and choosing kind of single tech providers. And we have made the decision not to go that route at this stage because the companies that we're buying are extremely successful. They're very profitable. They're really well run. The last thing we want to do is force as you guys know, forcing a PMS is like the biggest decision ever. Like that's catastrophic in a company. And we don't want to, because we like one provider, we don't want to force that onto the company.
I love that. That's a great answer.
If we have to learn 4 property management systems, all good. That's fine.
Well, I think
because even if a company is using the same property management system, they're still using it in very different ways. So when we pull data, it's not the same.
Right.
So every company is a little bit different, and that's okay. We'll figure out what's best for the owners, the employees. We don't want to, even though we could save money and really optimize, we really need to make sure the companies are running well. And if that's the point of contention, we're not going to.
So if it's not broke, don't fix it. We have a longer view in terms of, again, if they're already profitable, right? Like, I think that's a sticking point with conversations that we have about companies in this industry, right? Like,
when they're only looking at profit.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Are there companies that you look at and see with just 1 or 2 tweaks, they could be this, StoicLane type of company? They're 1 or 2 things away from being that, because I think we've seen a lot of companies that look great, but don't really have the infrastructure, don't have a clear path to profitability or a timeline to
dive into those books, and they're like, oh shoot, but
everything else, see the intimate nature of it. And when you're doing that analysis and that backroom, dissection of what they have, how much freedom do you guys have? And you'll say, look, they're one or two things away from really being a solid profit.
So yes, we see lots of companies, lots of types of companies that are not profitable today, but could be.
Yeah.
But we really don't want to cut staff and really change the underlying business to make it profitable. So we have not taken on any companies that are not profitable. We do, however, let's say we buy a company and it is profitable, but we notice, for example, with the middle holders, or we notice that the company is not offering a 12-month stay, they're only offering kind of 4 months of the year. And I think, well, if we can actually optimize this business by offering more months of the year,
right,
what price then are we really buying the company at? And so the price that we factor in all of the things that we're going to do to improve the company, the price we're actually paying is a lot less.
Capitalizing on the shoulder seasons, realizing, it's harder in New England, right? Like that's a different story. Like, just, truly you have 4 months and then you have a little bit of shoulder seasons. And then unless you're up in the mountains, like you're pretty much dead. But
it's cool with like New England. So some houses don't have heat.
Right.
So you really can't.
Right.
It's not a possibility. However, now lots of people in Boston are working remote, and they love to go to the Cape for a week with their family with young kids. Yeah. Just have a change of pace because it can get really dark and really gloomy, and really just wanting a small vacation. So in that case, where there would never be a possibility in winter, now people would want to go to the Cape for a winter vacation.
Well, and if you look at also even outside of just the vacation, just people who are traveling for work, and talking about it's another thing, people that want to go spend time in, STRs, vacation rentals, wherever, have the freedom and the ability to work wherever they want to for, I won't say infinite periods of time, but for longer periods of time that's changed, and that demographic is not going anywhere. It's still being supported. I think that's so many interesting things that from an investment standpoint that though we don't have the time and we're gonna have to bring you back because we'd love to get into not necessarily the details of what you guys are doing, but it's refreshing to hear this different perspective on investing that we don't get to hear when we talk to other people from VCs. So,
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna that know what that operate how they operate, right? And for whatever reason within that space, it's refreshing. There's something different.
And also, like something to be said, many individuals can think something's a great idea, but a company or an investment strategy does not support that, you really can't run with it. And so our firm, many people at the company, Matt Walters has been phenomenal, Al has been phenomenal, many others are very, very, very supportive and are very excited about the opportunity as well. So, I'm sure there's a lot of other people that would love to invest. It's just their investment thesis and criteria may not line up perfectly.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on. Join us, Stephanie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Have you spent hours determining what rate you should charge at your short-term rental property?
Of course you have. This is a huge part of the vacation rental business, and it can be tricky knowing if your place is on par with other properties in the area. But now you don't have to wonder, you don't have to worry. And that's because it's so much easier pricing out your properties with Beyond Pricing.
Here's how it works. Beyond uses a dynamic pricing tool along with in-depth market research to make sure your property gets valued exactly how it should be. They take dozens of factors into account, including your property's location, other rental rates in the area, any amenities on your property, nearby attractions, all of the things that most of us just wouldn't think about when pricing our own properties. That way you don't miss out on profits and your guests feel confident in the rate that they're paying, so they come back again and again and again.
That's a win-win. And it gets even better. Beyond's platform is easy to use, so you can save time and think about other areas of your business, or enjoy your free time a little more now that you won't be stressing out about the rate you're charging. There's a reason why hundreds of single and multi-property owners trust Beyond's platform to determine what they should charge their guests. Beyond is dedicated to the short-term rental community. It's where their business was born, and it's where they intend to stay.
Don't wait, get the profits you deserve. Go to gobeyondpricing.com/no-bs for a free portfolio assessment and a $30 credit when you sign up. That's go.beyondpricing/no-bs. Thanks for listening. And now let's get back to the episode.
Part 3 of the DARM podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, we're with the queen of DARM, Vera Mental's own Amy Hinote. Thank you so much. I know like we took you away at the busiest time of the day. But you know, you did agree to this.
I did agree with this. You're right.
Yeah, you did agree. And we want to get you on for a full episode that's better in better lighting for you. Yes, you know. I'm sorry, I took all the time. Truly. But
it's been a long day for sure.
It's been super long. And like I want to be the first to say that, you know, for me as a vendor, like, and I'll say this on the podcast, and then I'll say it like for you as well. Like this has been my the 7 years now, 6.5 years I've been in the industry. I've never had a more productive show for as a vendor than this show today. And I think, you know, I just wanted to thank you because, you know, it was insane numbers for us here at Hopper. And I got in front of the right people and it was fantastic. What are your thoughts? I know we just ended, like literally 5 minutes ago, the keynote ended. And
yeah, you dragged me away before I could get a drink.
I know. Well, you know what that
means.
So you know what that means. So.
Yeah,
but I know you.
Yeah,
we got you. Yeah, we got you. It's on us. I mean, but it means that I'm sure. Like, what are you hearing about the show? Like
I really haven't heard anything. I mean, like you said, it just ended. And we walked away, so I really had to get to say.
Wait, so no time to process, but you know.
Yeah.
For me, it's fantastic.
Well, I'm so glad.
I'm assuming in the content is fantastic. Like I was on a panel. I was able to go ahead, sneak away as a one person here and get to a couple different panels and it was just great information. I mean, I got a lot of good feedback. It was interesting because there's so many new people that I've met here that found this organically, and that aren't from our traditional circles. They're not VRMA, but they came here. And what they really love about this is the specific nature and what the value and what you bring here. I've heard it from vendors that they're getting great outreach, honestly, killing it.
Well, there are a couple of things. I mean, first of all, the executives are here. So it's like the people who make decisions about buying. We also have that battleground, which really encourages a sales environment. You know, so it's like people are here to shop.
Right.
And we also screen our vendors. You know what I mean? Like not everybody's here.
Right.
I mean, as you see, you'll see in some of the other shows that there are vendors there that, you know, we like to know that someone can actually deliver services before they're here. And it does matter, you know, and I think that, so there is a feeling of kind of like, okay, well, at least everyone's at least somewhat vetted,
right.
You know, in the vendor hall right now. But I think that it's a tech show. We don't have any other tech shows in our industry. So it's like, it's the technology show, and that's why the tech people are here, and that's why people are buying tech here.
Well, the interesting thing for me is, you know, for me, it's like, if we're to compare it to other shows, it's like the executive summit of VRMA plus a tech and revenue aspect. So, but it's not just the CEOs and then nothing against VRMA executive summit. So please don't take this the wrong way.
I didn't make it this year. I went to the first one.
It was a great show. You did well, and we had great conversations and it's right people. But here it's the executives plus the people that are actually making it happen behind the scenes. So it's a little more broad, but deeper, way deeper.
It's very deep. And I think that it's a cerebral show. The content is I'm not saying it's smart. I definitely don't.
Oh no, it's definitely smart.
It
The brain trust here, there's a difference because of the nature of what it is.
Right. It's it would be hard to come to the show if you didn't have a pretty significant understanding of what's going on in your business before you start, right? Like if you were brand new, this would be a really overwhelming show.
Yeah, you're not coming here to learn basic tips and tricks.
No, we used to run a glossary in the conference guide of terminology.
Oh yeah, for
Not in fact, I cut it the last second because their conference guide got submitted. Like but like, what is ADR? What is RevPAR?
Right.
Like just because some people are trying to follow along, it's the first one. Things were relatively new, and it was like there's just some basic terminology that people are going to want to walk out if we don't provide some type of a guide,
Right.
of a guide, it was just like, there were about, it's about 8 pages exactly. That's why I cut it. But so, of just basic terminology that I think, just kind of just to get through here, but the industry has advanced so quickly in the last 4 years that people know it now. There are things that people understand, key level, things like that,
Yeah.
that we weren't discussing before. And, there are a lot of new people in the industry. And I think that gap was more apparent this year than it's ever been.
Well,
There are a lot of people here, and obviously we
So
increased our attendance by about 30% last year. But
congrats, by the way, congrats.
think about who
Yeah, I was.
you know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of people who have sold their companies, and when I don't care what they say, like the fact is, when a company gets sold, they're no longer in the education sphere.
Right.
And I wish that weren't the truth. I mean, I think that you'll hear from these big companies that's not the case. They're still sending a bunch of people and all this stuff, and that's not the show's done. So it's like we had the executives from Futurist and Concepts, and some of those there. I'm about to say we had all the revenue managers,
Right.
Evolve,
100%.
Whimstay, Natural Retreat, those guys. But I thought, really, honestly, I think we had the revenue managers from all top 20 companies in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, truly, they're all here. The interesting thing I saw too is, I've seen this at every conference this year, and from the past, probably 6 months, Leah investment. There's a decent amount of investment, in which is good, because I think
that predatory.
No.
I think what we saw here, that it's definitely these are people that buy it.
Right. What
They're also not just loaning money or putting these weird terms together. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, we had on this same podcast that earlier we had StoicLane on it. She's absolutely amazing, and what they're doing is amazing. We've had some other people on the project, Nectar, who was on a few 6 or 7 episodes ago, and they're amazing. But these investors are coming in to get education.
Right.
They're not just going to go ahead and swing a dick.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that here. I think that's absolutely right. I think they really want to understand what makes a successful company, and it's 2 things, right? They want to see who else is doing that,
Right.
and who's really invested in being better,
Right.
and also they got to learn what to find out what to ask them, how to their performance in the companies that they're looking to purchase as well. I think that the show. I think the quality of the attendee. I know that sounds really snooty. I don't hesitate to say it, but quality of attendees.
I would agree with that.
And so the conversations are just different. It's everyone kind of has a shared experience in the industry, a shared level of knowledge of the industry. So the conversations are already starting
In a different tier.
Exactly.
And I'll learn something new.
You're not asking anyone how many properties they manage here. You might know. But you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly.
That's not what I was looking for.
No.
You know what I mean? You already know that these guys are property managers. Like, it's
No, I get it.
you know how when you're at another different type of show, it's like, how many properties do you manage? So thinking, do you have 1? Do you have 5? Do you have 50? Do you have 500? Like, those are different conversations.
I learned something new at every conference, but I learned even more here. Like the conversations, even after work and at dinner, and the conversations that are happening at the bar, it's deep, and it's I love it, and you did an amazing job. Again, what's next? I know you're doing your VR mental traveling. You have any more? You have a couple more?
We have several more scheduled. I'm actually headed to West Virginia for vacation.
Nice.
after this. So it's going to take a few minutes to breathe.
Good.
But it's going to take some. So I just think that trying to figure out. Everybody has to do this right now. The industry has changed, and if you're going to go forward, you have to do it smartly. I think the deal is for an industry right now. Status quo is not an option.
Actually talking to Tim about that one day.
You're either going backwards or you're going forward.
Yeah.
If you're going backwards, your decision is don't want to fix it, but you don't want to
Right.
and if you're going forward, it's like, You know what I mean? But there's no, like, any moment of not making a decision, you're going to backwards at this point. It's kind of like when you're getting upstream, right? You know, it's just like if you stop paddling,
Right.
birds just like
I've never seen anything like it. It's insane. I've heard so many conversations just about how fast this is moving right now. And we, just think of the companies that were here even last year that are like not even our mention companies, but look at the tech side too, that were here 2 or 3 years ago. They're gone.
right.
And all the new ones that come up that if they're not 100% vetted,
Were you around when we were doing like squares on who would be here last year?
yeah, I don't know if I was. If it was,
There was one night on the fitness when we were at something draw. It's like, who are these people? And so we're like, let's just put some squares together.
Oh, that's
See
so
who's here
funny.
next year.
Fair enough. I think, by the gaps.
But there are a lot of people that look at the opportunity and the growth of the industry and they think, oh, that's easy. If I can get 0.1% of the market share of, the total available market of that industry, then we'll be fine.
Right.
Hear it all the time. Like, so what did they show today? They were at 1.4 million air DNA.
Yeah.
1.4 million vacation rentals in the U.S. alone. And then the pitch deck is like, if I could get 1% of those, like, we'll be on our way. But I don't think people realize how hard that is to do.
Well, and it's relationship driven too.
Like, the largest company in industry manages 35,000.
Right.
Like, so it's most of them manage 5 to 10. So you know what I mean? That's a lot of legwork. Going back to Aaron Ross today, that's a lot of seeds and nuts and what's that? Spears.
Yep. Seeds, nuts, and spears.
But I do think that our industry is the other thing that's changed in it are the people. The guest behavior has changed. The owner behavior has changed. The employee behavior has changed. That's huge thing.
And it had to, like, a rising tide rises all ships. I mean, it's definitely said too much, but it's so true. And the need to go ahead and elevate your game because it's they're used to, and this hotel and this, the tech has risen in the user, the guest, it has expectations that need to be met. And we're doing a great job at it. Like, overall, and we're doing a really good job at it. We can get a hell of a lot better. But we're doing fantastic, and we just keep going.
Fantastic at what?
And no, we're overall as providers of guest experience, and like compared to what the guest needs, what
that slide you showed today said that property managers. I mean, that was a pretty on reviews.
Yeah,
that was startling. I'm not gonna lie. That was that people who manage was over 20, over 50.
Wait, no,
it was over property managers that manage more than
I missed it.
20. I think there's 20 properties. Their DNA in the general session this morning. Was significantly, the reviews were significantly lower.
And it's I mean, we can have a whole episode on those reviews too, because it's
well, and the scraping of the data for sure, but it's like at the same time.
I mean,
anecdotally, have you stayed in vacation rentals lately?
I have, but
I have too.
But I'm also seeing it professionally managed for the most part, and we have to look at where AirDNA has been getting their data, and there were scraping.
Anecdotally, it's not perfect everywhere.
Oh, 100%. And to bring this is like a professionally managed overall, I think we're doing well. Education wise, we need to do a hell of a lot better job in rising for everybody across and giving access to this tech to these these hosts that are doing
that analogy. And I'm not trying to be devil's advocate here.
No, I appreciate it.
Give each other a top time, but like a rising tide lifts all boats. That's just totally makes sense, right? What happens when the tide goes out?
He had a slider.
I mean, it's like what happens to these boats? And then it's like, okay, so actually, if you got lived in higher at the time, it's out, like we'd be okay, right? I mean,
that's a good point.
I mean,
there's a couple different ways you can look at it.
Right. I mean, hearing the analogy further,
yeah, for sure.
Obviously, it wasn't meant to be. Whoever put that in their first, whoever came up with
it. But it's true. Like they had a great time, and it showed that all those boats that were stuck in the mud when the tide went back out. But that's the reality.
But if you're trying to grab market share, you don't want to be with the rest of them. Exactly, right? I mean, so. But I understand what you're saying, and yes, and that's true. We have had year-over-year gains in this industry for I mean, well over a decade, year over year. I remember back in 2008, and the comment that we had internally was like, if we could just get back to 2004 numbers.
Yeah,
And-
imagine that.
Right. But then the recession actually helped us.
Right.
So then we started to rise and grow. We hit like 2004 numbers, I think, like in 10, something like that. And then just from 2010 until 2022, it's just been year in year, which means we have an entire generation of companies who have never seen our industry not have a year over year, advantage. Like, think about that. Like, so how are they going to handle
A downturn in the economy that actually affects travel.
or even a correction, right?
Right.
Even a pause, like even a
Right.
right,
Just a breath. Right.
yeah, exactly.
100%.
I mean, we're talking about do we have trust accounting as best practices anymore? You know what I mean? Like, we'll find out soon.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll find out who spent advanced deposits on folks. You know what I mean? We'll find out who lived off PPP money.
Yep.
Pretty soon. I mean, I'm just saying,
We learned a
like,
lot in
right?
COVID, right? I think COVID was just a little sliver in which I think certain companies got hit in the beginning and others did well.
Right.
But like, what happens when it's even across the board? And the reality is people aren't traveling and it's a significant dip.
Right.
Or recession.
You want
really
it to
hits.
be, yes, right?
No, 100%.
But I mean, like, think about this. We had so many people say, we just can't find anyone who wants to work. And I'm sure we've heard this for a while.
Yeah.
Like, everyone just wants to sit at home and collect government money, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, you just cashed a $5 million PPP check. Like, and you bought a condo and a boat and you're on a, now don't have enough employees. You furloughed half your staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
some
of it's on you.
Some of it is. And the fact is, people have to be paid for it. I mean, that's it. They were low in these resort destinations.
Yeah.
Like, people, you're not going to be able to pay your reservation agent $12 an hour anymore. You're just not. The White Castle sign over here is starting at $13.50.
It's insane.
Like, come on.
I think it's like $18 at Starbucks or something.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do this anymore.
I mean, and you're asking them to also not only sign up, but learn about 8 different tent platforms.
Yeah.
And then that you're probably going to switch at least 2 of them out during the year. So now you're going to learn another one. You know what I mean?
They're gonna
Like,
if we do our job right, they're gonna switch 2 of them up.
right. Right. I mean, it's a lot. So I think that, yes, completely, I agree that with the behavior, the industry is, there's no doubt. Demand is, if demand dips, it's a short-term dip, and it's also a somewhat self-inflicted. We should be, if you're not getting repeatness and things like that right now, that's a problem.
I mean,
just if you're going to sit here and rely on Airbnb or Vermo to break every single bit of business you have.
It's your job to go ahead and understand how to drive traffic.
I drive revenue.
100%.
Exactly. But I think it's also,
It's about
this
profitability.
is what makes it so hard for now.
Yeah.
It's also hard to motivate your team and get everyone rowing in the same direction right now. And a lot of remote people, a lot of changing visions. Like you've got executives who are planning on selling, but they're still trying to drive their team in a vision of,
And they're dealing with smaller
right,
teams because the
exactly.
tech stack enables them to need less
Right.
people.
and that's a place to sell it when there's not in anymore. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
so it's like you start to see that driving, that passion. I thought, interestingly enough, we had an opening with John Suzuki and a closing in Amber, and then a closing with Aaron Ross talking about it and starting with love and ending with care.
Right.
We're at a data and revenue management show, and going into 2023, what we're going to end up talking about is passion, love, and care. And and these are not for people like me.
Right,
This
right.
is not a women's summit. This
Right.
is a data and revenue management conference. I think that is what people want right now. They want to feel connected to what they do.
Well, I think it goes back to
And who they do business.
well, and it goes back to what you're talking about too. There's opportunity. If you don't start taking care of people, like it's really, we are in a people business,
We are.
right? And I think that gets eclipsed, especially with all the talk of progression and technology and business.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day. You will lose good people when you see it. And when people are talking about they can't hire across the board and they can't find it, it's not because, I mean, there's some people that wouldn't go back to positions no matter how much they were paid,
Right.
within that space. So how much are you evolving, in building out culture, right?
Exactly.
Our culture podcast talking about the culture of the industry, the culture of your company. the old guard and those old ways aren't standing because people have way too many opportunities to go do other things. Right.
You know, there's been I really don't even know the word, but there's just been a revolution. There's been a revolution that's happened in how people want to live their lives right now. I mean, I'm Gen X, so like I've made fun of this for a long time.
We're all Gen X.
I mean, like I'm very ageist. I've made fun of millennials my whole life, and I've made fun of Gen Z people now. So it's a major source of entertainment. But at the same time,
They're who's buying.
they're who's starting companies.
Yeah,
now.
100%.
I mean, that's not.
I mean,
But it's like we're baby boomers.
Yeah.
Like,
my kids call me a boomer. I'm not.
So that's actually really funny.
Amy,
but it is very. I know you want to go. But
no, I want for you to go because
it's a different world right now. It's coming out of this show. I think seeing how young these revenue managers are, what they're so smart.
super.
So this is an intelligence thing on any level,
smart.
and they're very resourceful. But the way that they want to connect with each other, we've never seen that in our industry before at that level.
Right.
We've never seen back in it reminds me a little bit of the Gen X SEO days when we were all learning search engine optimizations and
keywords and
stuff like
HTML.
that. We were all so dorky about it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot like that. And, but this is a different. I mean, they value things differently, and
they stand by those values.
they're not as resourceful as we are, but they don't have to be. So they're like, why do I want to go spend time? It's kind of like they were the kids who were like, why do I want to learn how to do it on paper when I have a calculator? Right? Why do I want to learn to be resourceful when we have Google? Right? What do you say? Like, that you may not have Google one day? Like, that doesn't even hold water anymore. Like, I don't know. It's going to be a different, that transition in our industry is going to be difficult for some people. But I think what we're seeing is the legacy companies are facing. The legacy founders are selling they have that opportunity. So if they don't want, it's like, do you want to go forward or do you want to?
And the legacy tech companies too are just, if they're not evolving with everything that's going on, and there's so many of them that aren't evolving, and they're just holding on by threads, and they're gonna be gone. I could name 15 companies right now that won't be here in 5 years.
I think it's going to be the most interesting. I think that the impact of what we're talking about here is going to be the most interesting on the investment side of the business. I think that I've heard some amazing ideas.
Really see the investors actually.
Well, I think, but that's the exciting part about it. Like, how many? If we would have went back a couple of years, we would just be talking about the same kind of VC models, right? And everyone's looking at VC funding, and everyone wanted to do VC funding and doing it that type of way. Now we have so many different creative models because, unfortunately, as things are getting expensive and housing prices and all of these things that actually affect what we do in this space, for us to have people that continuously own and not just have 5 companies that dominate this space, you're going to have to give people a pathway to entry. You're going to have to be able to afford it because we're talking about these people and this younger generation. They're not going to be able to afford to be in this space. Not across the board. Not saying
they're upside down at the properties they're buying with predatory lending and shitty projections.
Right.
Ways end up. But it's like, I do think that at the end of the day, second homeowners have a desire. They're going to want things done.
Right.
And they're going to find the companies that do that, that provide quality property management services. So if the investment-led companies do or don't, you know what I mean?
Right.
The one thing that we know about this industry from all the years of all this have been in it is that it will fix itself.
Yeah.
There will be another wave of some type of a property manager that comes in. It's like, okay, that you can't get it done, and I can't. We saw that happen with the people that came in from Virgo back in the day. Who started in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Sarah Bradford, Gaster, Milo, a bunch of those guys, Jody.
Yeah.
That they were about service, and it was quality for them. And then, of course, Airbnb, the host wave. And they like the connection, but at the end of the day, it will be like what will service. What will homeowners want and what will guests want? And that's going to be, I think there's another way. Now, my question is, I don't know where it's coming from.
Well, I was going to say when and where.
Soon.
Yeah.
soon, and I suspect it's going to come from real estate. I think we'll see realtors moving into vacation rentals, and I think it will be a good thing. I think they understand the business. I think they understand tech and understand data, revenue, some of the basic tenets of this.
We only have friends in the industry.
We only have friends.
That work in the realtor side of the business.
I suspect that the real estate agents are going to find a lot of success in that industry. And I think that's a good thing because they're very tied in their community. They'll replace
Right,
some of
it's
these
gonna-
people we're losing locally.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely. I never thought of it that way, but I can see that for sure.
My bet isn't.
Yeah, I think I see that.
It has to be, especially with the way that work dynamic has changed and the way.
Or especially urban.
And how,
Yeah.
Well, even I won't even just say urban, but you think about people that have the ability to work wherever they want to now. Like companies aren't going to continue to be. I think the effect, yes, will be because of the supply that will come from the urban areas, but now you're going to have people working from like whenever they want to in these other areas. So are you going to have build to work and live now? Like, how is that going to change? And who's going to be the builders and developers of that?
Ooh, we're already starting to see that.
But it's
but-
going to
but-
be interesting
but
to
not
see
to
the next
scale.
couple of years to see if these big companies, because in Atlanta, Google just built a big, Airbnb just built a big regional headquarters there. Like all of these companies are building these huge, big regional headquarters in these cities. And they're not going to just sit empty. So what's going to happen?
I mean, there's a lot of commercial real estate sitting.
Yes.
There's nothing worse for any community.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're in Mississippi or Missouri. Or,
yeah, it doesn't.
matter. Like it's vacant properties will kill it, especially in the city center. And so it's like think about how many out retail.
Yeah.
Malls,
It's the start of this
exactly.
light.
Big box centers. Like the amount of commercial real estate that has to be repurposed right now is pretty extreme.
Only they can actually use that for housing.
But only we're beachfront.
Right.
But no, like you talk about, like we get drugged into the housing conversation all the time.
Yeah.
And okay, well, guess what? Just where people live.
Right.
Let's have that.
I know.
Rabbit hole.
Exactly.
But I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a sort of part of that.
But there are a lot of people in those fields that understand, like there's a natural connection between vacation rentals and real estate. There always has been. There's a
Absolutely.
correlative with inflation.
Yeah.
Also with development, and we're seeing a lot of development now. I think we're seeing a lot more exclusive contracts on development too, exclusive management contracts that I find interesting.
Yeah, I'm
We've
curious to
never
see
really
how that-
seen those before. But I think people wanted them, but eventually they enjoy it.
Right.
Somewhere else for people to go that route. But like, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little concerned about the excess supply and where it's being built right now. There's a lot of this isn't beachfront. This isn't premier vacational inventory. Things are being built way off of the beaten path.
Right.
And they don't have the same views, the same amenities, the same access to ski, just things
Right.
like that. It's like, but that kind of supply, I'm a little concerned about. Long term, in terms of when they were talking about how much supply growth we've got, it's not beachfront supply.
Right. And it's
So
so
there's
there's
beachfront. There's only so much beachfront, and I think one of the things that we're not talking about, particularly with beachfront, these communities in the mountain communities. I just came from Central Oregon. The environment and like what's going on with the
The
weather.
fact that we are not talking about this in our industry
It's
blows me
Yeah.
away. Like it just does. We're watching beaches disappear all over this country.
like we're watching mountains burn, like literally
And the houses are falling in the
Right.
water.
Yep.
on
It cracks
TV.
me up.
On TV.
But yeah, we don't talk about any of it. It's because we're this whole industry is like,
Well, they'll just
you talk about it.
You can't talk about it, and they'll just rebuild it anyways until it falls down again.
But yeah, well,
Well, I mean, the beach will always be there. It just
Well,
might be
it was
abandoned.
different now.
It's gonna
Yeah,
be a
they
little
say that.
different.
But then there's a house or a condo in front of it.
Right. Exactly.
So really our
Exactly.
next business should be demolition.
There you go.
or disaster cleanup.
Disaster cleanup.
Disaster
Yeah,
cleanup and
exactly.
demolition. I like it. I'm with
Or
it.
bridge
And
building for all these barrier islands that
Recycling,
getting break.
repurposing,
Right,
recycling, and
repurposing.
rebuilding.
Oh my gosh, definitely.
Amy,
Yeah.
I want to wrap this up. I want to wrap
Bye,
this up. for
John.
you.
We're starting a new business.
We are. See that? No, wait.
Yeah, but it blows me away. We're not talking about that. We talk about sustainability. We talk about advocacy. We talk about, it's like we could talk about transportation.
But we're going to be forced to at a certain point because we can only ignore it.
But there's not. We should have been talking about years.
We should.
Well, and because we'll be talking about it, and we're talking about the next fundraiser for the next city that's right off the map. Yeah.
Have you been down to Key West?
No, but I just
We have
friends that have houses down there, and they live in Nashville. And every time there's an event, sometimes they're like, "Miss me," and other times they're like, "I don't know how we're gonna redo this."
See, there are areas where there's just water just under the condos right now on a Pullman. Like, those are elevators. You know what I mean? Unless they don't. No, it doesn't damage them out there from the second floor up, but how do you get to it?
Right.
What's the plan? It's going to be like Water World.
Right.
Oh God! Worst movie ever. The most expensive movie ever. The worst movie ever. I think there's a message in that.
All right, I'm going to go back downstairs.
Well, thank you. So first of all,
Thank you for being here.
thank you
I
for
appreciate
everything
it.
you've done. And so we are going to have you back because we need to dig into, because we all have actually a connection where we all kind of met around the same time at a URML at the
Mental and get right after the first.
if one of them was your birthday, like my second time meeting you is like I don't know how I ended up with the group that was like celebrating your birthday. But like,
That was a fun show.
it was a great show, and this is we actually this podcast that was the genesis of the idea.
I think we had ADA on that party.
Yes, we do.
I wasn't at the party.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
It was definitely worth it.
But I want to say, from John and I,
That's when we poured the salty caramel moonshine at the That was a really good idea.
but I want to say from us, thank you for everything that you do within this space. You are my role model for being the best devil's advocate I know within this space, and I know that pushes real issues and conversations. We talk about being no bullshit, but I think from the time I've known you, you've been no bullshit. From the panels you put together, Women's Summit, your actions speak volumes. So thank you for all you do for the space, and I'd love to get you back. We got some real good things to talk
Sounds
about.
good. Thank you. And thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you. Great show.
This podcast is a Hospitality.fm production.